So welcome back to the Lean Startup course, and right now I have with me Giacomo Bastianelli, who is CEO and founder of a business networking app called Lounjee. And Giacomo, thanks for coming in to talk to us today about Lean Startup. First of all, just a little disclaimer, Giacomo and I work together on this product. But for you, can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, what is Lounjee and why were you pushed and driven to create it?
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here in front of many students learning a product. And so the idea from an observation. And the observation is that I was going to London for work, and I would spend a lot of time in the Eurostar lounge waiting for the train, like every week, from Paris to London. And I saw around me many professionals just waiting alone for their coffee and drinking before the train would start. And I said, it would be interesting to spend some of my time that I have here to connect with other people in the same industry who are looking for something that I can offer and vice versa. And so that was the intuition. And basically I said, that would be nice to have a system that could connect me to these people. And that was the beginning of the idea. And what Lounjee is today is a matchmaking app for professionals where we take the information about what people are looking for and can offer, and we take that information, we use it with others such as location and industry to actually match. And to propose you people you should meet because of a very good reason. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense. So this product doesn't exist today or didn't exist before you brought it to market. So the concept is very much about helping people find something that they want. For example, a job or a mentor or something like that?
Yeah. And yes, it's not, in fact, most of the people when they do professional networking is that when they're looking for a new job.
Right.
Why? Because it's through the network. We know that the network is very important to find a job. However, there are many other cases that you could use your power of the network you've built to support you for co-founding a new business, or maybe finding a partnership in marketing with another person that you might not have thought of. So there are many use cases around business and professional networking beyond just a simple finding a new job.
Of course. Now, what's interesting as well is that you're actually a scientist by background.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about your scientific profile?
Yes, so I'm a biologist, studied biotechnology in Italy in the US, and then I did a PhD in bioinformatics. I've been always very interested about IT and biology. And I think related to the lean startup approach in science, you start with a hypothesis and then you do design an experiment to either prove or disprove that hypothesis, and then you move on. And it's science is based on facts, on at least with the tools that you have in order to observe the reality. So that was actually something that when I moved more into product and design, that really helped me because I was in the same mindset. I said, okay, this is the hypothesis, the idea, the opportunity. I don't know if it's gonna hold true, but I need to figure it out, and the fastest as possible.
Yeah.
And eventually being able also to kill it, because also when you're a scientist, you have an hypothesis, but you don't attach yourself emotionally. You're more, okay, let's see if that is true or not, and let's run the experiment.
Yeah. So we do talk about this in the course, that the scientific method, which has been used since the 17th century, and the lean startup cycle have a lot in common. So they basically give you a structure, a format to go from observation, forming a hypothesis, and using experiments to prove it true. So in the case of Lounjee, your hypothesis was something like if people could network based on outcomes that they care about, as opposed to being like each other, then they would enjoy or benefit from being connected to each other. So, I mean, how would you go about proving that? What kind of experiments, and how did you take this from zero to being more and more validated?
Yeah, so it was actually a very interesting experience. So we designed a few questions, like really understanding how people network. And we decided to look for those who excel on that. So we're talking about experts in the field, CEOs, for example. They usually startups and CEOs, they network a lot because it's part of their job to know, to meet investors, and regular people. And within the regular people, when we went to asking these questions, it was like a customer interview, learning about how they do network. And we actually did it in the Eurostar. So we were like there, and I was just sitting next to someone like you, and I was just starting a chat, like a cold chat. The person never met, never seen me. And then I would say, oh, by the way, do you go often from Paris? And do you meet people here professionally? And then that would kick in, and I would have my script on the back to ask the relevant questions. Because in the end, we wanted to have something. Of course, it's always qualitative, but some kind of quantitative aspects in these interviews that could help us to understand if there was a need, if people care about, which target of people would care about. And we realized that, for example, CEOs, of course, they are very interested on such a thing. And so they want to master professional networking.
So when you do customer research and customer interviews, normally there's something that kind of indicates that this is a success, some sort of currency. So you told me that if people gave you a business card, that you would regard that as kind of like a yes, a one, some sort of good.
Yeah, or email, for example.
Or an email
I remember that 2 or 3 people, I didn't even ask anything. I said, wow, this is interesting. This is at the end. So I would start first with a customer interview, just to understand. They didn't know that I was doing market research. Actually, I was saying that I'm helping a friend who is doing something, and this is why I'm asking those questions. And then at the end, I've asked, oh, by the way, this is my friend's app, and this is what he's thinking to do. Have a look. What do you think? And then they say, oh, this is cool. Yeah, is it on? Is it on already? I said, no. I'll leave you my email. Okay. And that was some sort of validation that they were ready to, at least they gave me something without me asking, oh, do you want, I can send you if you give me my email.
Yeah. Perfect. And then at a certain point, you go from more qualitative information and feedback into quantitative. So you want some sort of data. So can you tell me a little bit about, for example, the first moment where you had, like, let's call it data, as opposed to, let's say, interviews, where in not a very long time, you built something that gave you some data that helped you to analyze and learn what was happening. So what was, for example, the first app of Lounjee?
So we had this prototype that we kind of validated in terms of UX and user flow. And then we said, okay, let's put few K and develop an MVP. So we built this MVP, like in iOS, to start easy. And then we got like the first, let's say 100 people. And we invited, some friends to test, some other people organic when we put out the app. And then we look at metrics. Of course, they didn't know. So for example, my friends, they didn't know that I was checking if they would come back. So it was actually very interesting to see that some of these people, they would come back, even with an MVP that was kind of scrappy in its look, but it was good enough to show that people were curious to see suggestions of other people. And
so you kind of removed the bias. So you were asking friends if they'd try out your app, and you knew that they probably would because they're your friend. But then if they came back a second time,
or a third,
a third time, then you're taking that as the bias is removed. This person found this engaging. And so that was your data point. And that's very interesting because I think a lot of people forget to strip out the bias.
And also, just a point on the first, I think it was 40, 50 users, we had already 2 people who used to meet, so who met
in person
through the app in person. So for us, it was kind of very surprising because we said, okay, that means that the system could work, and even on a small scale, we're able to make interesting matches. So that was a big win because it was validation of the concept with just the MVP from the suggestion into the meeting, which is the whole flow of Lounjee.
So for a couple of weeks of development, you've now proven end-to-end that the product can work. One thing also that you mentioned when we were chatting before was that you found a way to accelerate your learning by going to events where there was a lot of people. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you got so much learning in one day by going to a one-day event.
Yes, so I was connected, I'm in biotechnology, so I was connected with this group organizing events for biotech, and then we said, okay, let's get a stand, let's go there and see what happens. So we had this stand, we had some little visibility, therefore people would come, who start taking their phone, downloading the app, we're looking in hands how they would use it. So that was a great information for us. And then basically in one day we had between 100 and 150 installs from these people. And interestingly enough, we could see what they were like experiencing on real time. Say, oh, I know this person, so it's here, so it's close, oh, it's matching with me for these reasons. So that was a big win. And that actually was the first trigger to really see a bigger opportunity, which is like not only developing a product that would help individual professionals to connect, but also to create a platform that could help groups, to help members of a group to connect to each other, creating more engagement, and this is also something that we're doing right now.
Okay, perfect. And just one last question then. In terms of events and doing experiments and learning quickly and getting results, were there any experiments you did or events that you had that weren't successful?
Yes, yes, and that's actually the best because you learn the most. Yeah, so we went to the World Mobile Congress in Barcelona, and it was a funny story. Yeah. We basically had many flyers, and of course we arrived with our stand, like hacking the system to distribute flyers. Actually, not even getting inside the conference, just outside. And the police basically said, no way, guys, you cannot do it. So that was the first step, and they said, okay, we cannot distribute, but maybe I can wear flyers. So I started wearing all those flyers and in front of the taxi line, just distributing and making some action. But in the end, we figured out that people were interested, but not necessarily downloaded the app. So the metrics after there was no gain from this event, which told us something interesting, that maybe people want to connect to other people when they are part of something, which could be a group, it could be
Yeah.
So that experiment didn't work, but it was actually fun.
Okay, great. So last question then, what is the future for Lounjee, or what way do you intend to continue the culture or the outlook of lean startup as you grow the company?
All the time. My answer, I mean, as a scientist, I mean, my life is based on experiments, and everyone should be based on that also in terms of their business. And so the vision stays the same. We want to help people to connect to the right people professionally, to help them develop their career, their business, their relationships, and be better at professional networking. That's our vision, and stay the same. To reach that vision, then we use methods like lean startups and lean approach, where we actually do experiments, quickly validate, and be very close to find always the perfect fit between a product and the clients or the customers or the users.
Perfect.
And by the way, if people are interested to check out the product, they can go on either iTunes or Google Play to download Lounjee, and I would actually be very interested to hear any feedback, especially bad feedback. We love bad feedbacks, so we can improve, and then you guys can write me at giacomo@lounjee.com.
How do you spell Lounjee?
LOUNGJEE.com.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for coming in, Giacomo. Your story was definitely very interesting. Great also to hear from a scientist that found the similarity to lean startup, basically, a real plus. And I think also when it comes to the stories you've told, I think success and failure are part of this. So you want some experiments to succeed, but also you love the experiments that fail.
That's where you learn.
Yeah, that's where you learn.
In science, that's where you learn.
Okay, thank you, Giacomo.
Thank you.
Thank you.